sometimes you don't know when the pieces are going to fit, but when they do, it's magical. And I felt that the conversation and the relationship now that's kind of grown with management and myself, the coaching staff and myself, as well as the players and everybody in this room, it seems like, I keep looking at myself and saying I wish I was 10 years younger, because it is such a great fit and a great spot to be in. And for me to be a part of this growth and to be part of the solution that they're looking for, I'm honored and I'm humbled by it.
Terrific words last week from Craig Anderson, who is with us now as he is on the entry into his 20th NHL season. How are you, sir?
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
Hey, it's great to see you, and, we're obviously always excited for an opening night. You have been the starter on opening night, I believe, 12 times in your career, including 3 really strong performances here in this building, either with the Sabres or with the Ottawa Senators. So,
unfortunately, a few bad.
Oh man, we definitely remember the 1-0 victory for Ottawa over Buffalo opening night. Carlson scored late. It was a terrific game, and you stood on your head. Star performance. What does it feel like for another season, a 20th in the NHL?
Yeah, I think I'm excited. I think that excitement is still there after all these years, and I think it's the group that we have and the staff that's around. I think that's kind of it's a collective effort here as far as that kind of experience that we're looking for.
So 20 years, and you go back to like 2002. We were just starting to work into VH, right, on the post and whatnot. I'm watching you practice this morning. You're coming across on wraparounds and reverse VH. You're pushing out of it. I'm thinking, I could never do this. Like, when did the style? You kind of had to adjust a few times over your career, but when did you feel comfortable with this latest moves that goalies have to do and working a lot from their knees?
Yeah, we started to transfer into that reverse VH with Andrew Hammond came back from a goalie camp in Wisconsin that he went to every year, and we sat there and he was doing it, and we started looking at it, and we started just kind of trying to incorporate it here and there. And anytime we did low plays around the net, we'd try that. I'd try VH. I'd try stand-up. I'd try it all just to kind of get comfortable with it. I think it was one of those things where over time we've made adjustments. Tuukka Rask was always a shin-on post instead of skate, which seemed to work better on the hips, and he was able to push out of there better than anyone I've ever seen. So you watch each guy. You try to pick a little bit each from everybody. I remember when regular VH was a big thing, and Francois Allaire was down in Florida working with Luongo, and me and Vaucoon were there. And, after day one of trying to get Vaucoon and myself into this VH, Francois just gave up.
I think he did the same thing with me. I sent him a couple of videos. He was working with Anaheim back then, but I worked with him in the summer. And I'm like, I keep getting scored on VH. He goes, yeah, maybe it's not for you. It would go like ever so slowly between my legs. I could never get my left knee down in that way. But I was watching you this morning. Obviously, you'd mentioned so we all wish we were younger, but for different reasons because of the fit and all of that. Like, you look good moving in and out of the post that way, which a lot of goalies, even in their late 20s or early 30s, are having tough time incorporating it. Like, the young kids at 12 do it good, but it's hard for goalies that have gone through different styles to be able to do it, but you do it well.
Yeah, when I was working my last couple of years in Ottawa with Pierre Gruel, every morning, we'd be out there 10, 15 minutes early, and that was pretty much the focal point, was all low plays, because it was such a new move, or a move that really hadn't been I had an expert, hadn't really gained the confidence of using it, and it just takes time. That's all it is. It's getting in and out of it, and when you're not willing to put the time in anymore, that's kind of when you're like, all right, well, maybe this isn't for me. But when you're still going out there early, you're still putting in the work, you're still working on things, you still want to improve. That's what makes the game fun.
Your first mention of Tuukka Rask is like, I'm a bit of a goalie geek, so it's an honor to sit next to Marty every day.
He likes the right-hand catcher, because that's what he is.
Yeah, but it's just, I love it when you can make that personal reference and viewing of someone else, and it really stands out. And I always thought Rask just had this incredibly unique and beautiful style about him. Are there other goalies that have some sort of fluidity in their game or little nuances that you also greatly respect and always kind of admired watching?
Patrick Waugh.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, like I said, I think, playing with Volkun, really taught me a lot. I guess that was like late 2000s. The guy didn't go down much. Shots from far away, he'd stand up and catch them. Like he just read the game really well. He wasn't kind of relying on the butterfly. And then you'd train with Luongo in the summer for a couple weeks, and you'd see him butterflying every shot. And it was like, all right, well, you can't be one or the other. You got to have to be your own guy. And every situation calls for something different. And that's again, when we go through the drills, you might be working on one skill, but I always like to throw in something else just to be like, hey, like this might work also, or just so you get comfortable using multiple moves at different situations. And one thing I noticed the other day, with Luukkonen was we were doing again the post play, and he went through 4 different transitions of how he would play the post, whether it was an overlap or an RVH or a VH, and that's the kind of stuff where if you don't have the same move, it's tough to pre-scout you. You just don't know what the guy's going to do, and he might throw a 2-pad stack out there and surprise everybody.
Yeah, we've seen that happen. Even Henrik Lundqvist, who is so technical, I've seen him throw 2-pad stacks and skate saving a beauty once in a while.
Quick tried it last night. It didn't work too well.
Well,
on that one
it's a 3-on-1.
I know.
And Marchessault is coming in. But so you talk about trying different things. Some goalies are also student of the game, and they look at shooters. I don't know if you pay attention to shooters' tendencies, but I want to come back to the Sabres and some of our players. I was watching Victor Olofsson shoot this morning. I'm like, my goodness, that guy is even better than last year. And I know he was hurt last year, but anybody on the team that you're really paying attention to how they shoot the puck now and think, wow, they're primed for a good year?
Yeah, I mean, now that the the camp numbers get down to your 19, 20 guys, it's a little easier to start picking guys apart and understanding what they do. And that's the toughest thing when you come in the training camp. You got 40 guys on the ice. You haven't seen 30 of them shoot before, and you're like, what is going on? Once you kind of, like I said, when you learn the tendencies, it's a little bit easier to pick up their tells and where they like to shoot. Cuzzy's come a long way with his shot. Shoots hard, pretty accurate. Obviously Tage is a guy who can hit his spot pretty good. Skinny's always pretty sneaky with the puck as well, but it's just one of those things where some guys feel it one day and they don't the other. But for the most part, like you said, Vic is dialed in for the most part, and it carries over into the games.
I watched last night on YouTube your speech when you accepted the Masterton Trophy in 2017, and I feel like you've stayed incredibly true to those final words that night of stay in the moment and live for the now. My question would be, were you like that a lot earlier, or when did those words, was it, that season where it really became words to live by, or had you always kind of been trending in that direction?
I would say that was a major turning point in life. I think, when your family gets put on the line there and it's live or die moment, or it's that type of situation, you start taking things. You don't take things for granted. I lost my best friend in, I think it was 2012 or 13. And I went out and bought a Ferrari after, because you don't live more than you'll only live once, and you don't know when your time's going to come. So he and I always loved cars together, and it was one of those things where, I hadn't done anything with cars for a while, and he passed away, and I pretty much immediately went out and bought a Ferrari because I could, and it was kind of a memory towards him, and I still have that car today, and every time I get in, I think about him, so it's
amazing.
A good memory.
Because we wanted to talk about...
Well, yeah, it's a great transition, because you are a big car buff with the what do you call the simulator, right? The
Yep.
car simulator. And so are you more of a race car type guy, like Formula One, stock cars? Like, what is the draw to car racing that you have?
It's sports cars. So my dad drove Corvettes and IMSA prototypes back in the 80s,
Okay.
like the Le Mans cars. So, I was too young kind of for that, but we've always had cars around. And my brother and I, it's kind of our thing. My brother and I, in the summer, we try to get together, go to the racetrack. Simulator is great. It's kind of a vent, from the season. Things aren't going the way you want them to, or even if they are, it's a way to get away from the rink, put something else on your plate and enjoy it, and then kind of refreshes and recharges your batteries.
What do you think your involvement in that kind of stuff will be like when hockey's in the rear view?
Club stuff, just it's like beer league racing, beer league hockey. It's the same thing. It's guys just getting together and enjoying your time on track. And at the end of the day, if you win a $4 trophy. So it really is. It's not about that. It's it's all about it's like I said. It's beer league hockey.
Yeah.
As far as for racing.
Ovals or like
road course.
Road course.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll do. I've done Sebring, I've done Road America, the local track by our house, in Chicago by Blackhawk Farms. I've done Mid Ohio, I've done Watkins Glen, Calabogie, and Ottawa.
I just think like next summer we have to do some feature with you at Watkins Glen and take some cars around. That would be so fun.
Marty has become obsessed with F1 since
I
Drive to
was
Survive.
always before as a kid, and then I went away, and then I came back, obviously.
Yeah.
Still have not gone to any F1 race. I've gone to multiple NASCAR races, but not gone to an F1 race. So
Have you gone to NASCAR at the Glen?
I went to the Glen. I've also went to the Sharpie 600, I think it's called, at Bristol. George Babcock and I and Curtis Brown went there.
Yeah.
Now, if you think George is crazy at the hockey rink, let him loose at a NASCAR race.
No.
That's nuts.
We need you to guide George
With the
into
Viper.
building a car.
Yeah, he's a Mopar guy.
He is a Mopar guy. He is absolutely
He's
a
not a
Mopar.
driver,
Just
though.
don't let him.
Do you know he's not a driver?
Yeah, he's not a driver.
Not a driver.
Yeah, I was gonna say, don't let him drive your car around parking lots. There's been some incident before, and
I let him know every day.
he didn't crash a Ferrari, but he did crash a Viper, which was unfortunate.
Hey, we had two big contract extensions in the organization today, the coach, Don Granato, and a defenseman who obviously you're going to be very well connected with once again this year, Mattias Samuelsson. A quick thought on both of those?
I think both are well earned. I think they're deserved. I think we'll start with Donnie. What Donnie brings to the table here is he brings confidence and calmness to the room and with the guys, and he instills the confidence for the guys. But he also just lets us learn. Right? He guides us in a way that's not a negative learning experience. It's a positive reinforcement learning experience. It's like, hey, you've done this, but what about this? It's not like you haven't done anything wrong, but there's a better way to do it.
Yeah.
And that's just from a player standpoint, it's so refreshing to have a coach that just kind of embraces your mistakes and tries to grow with you.
That's awesome. What about Mattias as a goalie? And the game that he brings, right? Blocking shots, physical, everything that as a goaltender you take in consideration. What does it feel like to have him in front of you?
Yeah, the guy's got like a 9-foot reach. I think that's huge. I think that's the main part of it. Big body. He's tough to play against. He's gonna have growing pains. There's always going to be that with any type of player, regardless of their age or career games. But
anybody you played with that reminds you of Mattias? I don't like to compare players, but his skill set is so unique in my opinion.
Like Chara towards the end there, didn't move very well, but he had that reach, and he was just that big body guy that brought a presence to the ice. And I don't want to compare him to Chara because Chara is obviously a Hall of Famer, and we don't know where Sammy's career is going to go. But as far as on the defensive side of the puck, I mean, no one wanted to go play against Chara or run into him because he was going to knock you over. And I think Sammy's kind of in that same boat. He's 6'5" or 6'6", and just a big guy that's going to play hard. And I think he's going to use that size to his asset.
Really great to see you. Thank you for the wonderful insight on so many things, and have a great season.
Sounds good. Thank you.